Welcome, Taurus. Welcome to the realm of astrology. This is your monthly reading for the month of June. I'm going to go over the astrological overview for the month and what it means for you. But before we begin, do hit the subscribe button. All right. So before we get into the month of June, I want to mention that there was an eclipse on May 26th on the 5-degree axis of Gemini and Sagittarius. And right now we are in between eclipses. And why this is important is because the period in between eclipses, there's going to be another one on June 10th. We'll talk about it. But this period between eclipses is fated, it's karmic. Things happen that are destined during this period. And also, eclipses can bring pieces of information, they can bring insights. So, this period that we're in till June 10th is special. And that being said, let's get started. All right. Okay. So, the first thing that happens for you is on June 1st. And on June 1st, the Sun and the North Node are conjuncting Taurus. Now, what does this mean? The Sun is our soul, it's our identity, and the North Node energizes anything that's close to it. For you, you can see on the chart. Give me a moment. Let me pull this up for you. All right. It's in your second house, Taurus. The conjunction of the Sun and North Node is happening in your second house. And the Sun has been in your second house for the past 11 days. What does this mean and why is this important? Whenever Sun is in a particular house, it illuminates the affairs of that house. And in this case, it's illuminating your skills, your self-worth, your values, and your finances. And for the next 20 days, it is going to continue to do so till it changes signs and moves into your third house. And the North Node being there and meeting up the Sun today on 1st of June will only magnify the topics of self-worth, value, skills, and finances in your life. And also, Taurus, let me also mention that you have so much energy in Gemini in your second house. The focus for you for the past 20 days at least, and especially 20 days, has been on areas of self-worth, value, skills, and finances, and it will be till all these planets move on to your third house, which they will slowly. We'll talk about it. It happens within the month. All right, so that's the first thing that's happening on June 1st. Now moving on, let's move on to June 2nd. What's happening on June 2nd for you, Taurus? June 2nd, we have what is called the last quarter phase of the moon. This is where the Sun, okay, sorry about that. This is where we face the last quarter phase of the moon. And what is the last quarter phase? It's when the moon and the Sun make their 90-degree angle before the new moon, which will happen on June 10th, and that is a solar eclipse. And why is this important? This is important because this week, till the new moon on 10th of June, you will be focused on releasing things. You will be focused on letting go of things. And this is a subconscious release. It's a subtle release. And what are you releasing, Taurus? You are releasing the new moon that happened on May 11th. And that happened in your first house. It happened in your first house around here, okay? And that new moon was a beginning. And we as a collective were focused on starting new things connected to our self-worth, value, skills, and finances. But for you, Taurus, it was also connected to your appearance, how you present yourself, and how the world sees you, because it happened in your first house. And now is the time where you are assessing what that you began on May 11th is going to go with you to the next lunar cycle, which will begin on June 10th. So this is a release process, and squares, let me tell you, don't feel easy. So this energy of releasing things will not feel very easy. All right, so that happens on June 2nd. Another thing happens, as you can see on the chart, is that Venus is at 29:51. Today it's going to come into the sign of Cancer, okay? And which means it's going to leave your second house and come into your third house. Now, why is this important? When Venus is in a particular house, we become receptive to the matters of those houses. And Venus is also a benefic, so it blesses the matters of those houses. And it's been here for the past 20 days in your second house, meaning that it has made you more receptive and in some ways even blessed you when it comes to your self-worth, value, skills, and finances. And now it's moving on to your third house, meaning that you will become more receptive and receive some blessings connected to your siblings, connected to your mind, communication, immediate environment, all these things. And it will stay here for at least 20 days. So mostly the month of June is going to be Venus in your third house. And Venus moves around this circle so fast that the blessings Venus brings are usually small as compared to, say, Jupiter. Okay, moving on to the next event that happens. We're going to move on to June 10th straight away because that's the most important event of the month. It is the new Moon Solar Eclipse in Gemini. Okay, now what is a new moon and what is a solar eclipse? It's happening in a new moon is when the sun and the moon are together. Okay, as you can see on the chart right here, the sun and the moon are together, they are meeting up. And this is relevant because when the sun and the moon meet up, as on a new moon, we begin something new. We begin the new lunar month and we sow the seeds for what we are going to work on in the next lunar month. So, this is a point where there's a new beginning. And it is a solar eclipse. Now, why is it a solar eclipse? Because it's next to the nodes. And a solar eclipse is extremely powerful. Eclipses bring karmic events, they can speed up events, they bring information, they change things. And eclipse energy can stay with us for a long, long time, 6 months at least, but even longer. So for you, Taurus, you are creating a new beginning in matters of self-worth, value, skills, and finances. And I realize this is a lot of focus on self-worth, value, skills, finances in the month of June for you, but that's simply because the planets right now are all moving together. As you can see, everything is in Gemini, almost everything. And now Venus and Mars are in Cancer. So that's happening on June 10th. And eclipses highlight things. So definitely something connected to self-worth, value, skills, finances will be highlighted for you on June 10th. It will be a new beginning for you in this area of your life, Taurus. Moving on, the next important thing happens on June 11th. And what is happening? Mars is here. It's at 29 degrees of Cancer. It's going to leave Cancer and enter Leo today, which means it's changing houses for you. From your third house, it's going into your fourth house. Now, what does this mean? When Mars is in a particular house, and Mars takes about 2 years to go around this circle. So it's not very often that Mars goes into a particular house. It's after 2 years almost. And Mars has been in your third house for the past 40 days or so. And when Mars is in a particular house, it energizes that house. So for the past 40 days, it has energized your house of communication, siblings, peer group, mind. All these things have been energized by Mars. And today it's leaving that house and entering your fourth house, which means matters connected to your deepest emotions, your family, your foundation, even real estate will get energized. So that's happening today, and it's going to be here for at least 40 days. All right. Another important thing that's happening today is the sun and Mercury are meeting up. They're conjuncting, okay? And why is this important? Because when the sun and Mercury meet up like this, usually we can receive some piece of information. We can have a realization, and this comes from a higher realm. And that's happening for you in your second house. So you might have an insight, you might have a realization, you might receive some communication that is connected to your self-worth, value, skills, and finances. All right. And that's June 11th for you, Taurus. Moving on. Let's move on to June 14th. Now, on June 14th, an extremely important event is taking place. Saturn and Uranus are going to square. Saturn is here. Uranus is here. They're going to make a 90-degree angle. Okay, This is the most important event of 2021. They are going to square exact 3 times this year, and we will feel the energy throughout the year and even into next year. So let's break it down for you a little bit, okay? I want to give you a little bit of background to tell you what you've been going through, and then we'll come to the Saturn Uranus Square. So let's start with Saturn Taurus, okay? Saturn, as you can see on the chart, is in your 10th house. It has been here since December of 2020. And when Saturn is in a particular house, it puts the matters of that house in order, and it stays in a particular house for about 2.5, 3 years. So for you, it also demands hard work, discipline. And when Saturn is transiting a house, meaning it's transiting your 10th house right now, matters connected to that house will not feel easy. They'll feel difficult. It'll feel like you're being pulled up. But the goal of Saturn is to put things right. So that's what it's doing since December of 2020 in your 10th house. And the 10th house is the house of career. So you are being asked to work on your career, be disciplined about your career, and it's putting things in order connected to your career. It's also fame, it's also politics, it's also public life. So that's Saturn. And let's talk about Uranus. Uranus is right here. Now, Uranus is an energy that breaks anything that is in your way, that breaks anything that prevents you from coming into your own. Okay, because it wants you to be you. It wants you to be your authentic self. And Uranus has been in your first house since at least 2019 beginning, at least. And it's going to stay here for almost 7 years. So Uranus since then is getting rid of anything that is preventing you from being your authentic self, because the first house is you, Taurus. And when these planets square, it's a rare energy. It happens about once in 21 years. Last time it happened was in the year 2000. So after 21 years, we are seeing the Saturn square Uranus energy. And what is this energy about? This energy is about getting rid of old ways of being, old structures, old thought patterns, and embracing the new. It's also coming into your own, your authentic self. It's about being who you actually are and not who you think you should be. And there's a difference, Taurus. There's a difference. So it comes exact on June 14th. And what do I mean when it comes exact? It means that the degrees will match up exactly. The square will continue at about, see, Taurus, Uranus can be at 11 and Saturn can be at 14, and they can still be in a square. But right now they're exact. And this is an extremely potent energy. It's an extremely intense day. So be mindful of that. And I want to also mention that Saturn is in your 10th house and Uranus is in your first house. So this tug of war between the old and the new, the areas that will be highlighted for you with the Saturn Uranus transit will be your career and you, who you are, how you present yourself to the world, your appearance. Okay. And do remember, when Saturn goes through a house, it does not feel easy. So if you're facing difficulties in career, if you're facing problems, or you're feeling like you're working too hard, it's because Saturn is there. But the end result will be positive. You look back and say, yeah, I hated going through this, but it was necessary. And Saturn brings with it rewards if you put in the work. However, the rewards come in later. It can take over a year, year and a half before you see any rewards for the work that you've put in when Saturn is transiting a particular house, in this case, your career. Okay, moving on. On June 17th, we have the first quarter phase of the moon. Now, what is this? This is again a 90-degree angle. Sun and the moon are making a 90-degree angle. And this is where you might face some obstacles. You might face some challenges. You might need to make some changes or adjustments in connection with the new cycle that began for you in your, I believe it was your second house, the new beginning that happened for you connected to self-worth, value, skills, finances. You may be facing some obstacle then. That happened on June 10th. And now is the time you're going to make the adjustment. You're going to resolve that issue. And it could be where it is connected to your self-worth, value, skills, and finances, but it can also be connected to your, the fifth house is the house of children, pleasure, and hobbies. So it could be connected to those things as well, because the moon is in your fifth house, Taurus, making a square to the sun in your second house. Now, now I'm not going to change the date of the chart, but I'm going to explain what's happening on this chart as well. On June 20th, Jupiter right here is going to retrograde, meaning it's going to appear to move backwards from the Earth's perspective. Now, what does this mean? This means that you will, when a planet goes retrograde, the direct movement, the direct forging of our paths, the direct creation of karma slows down. And it's the period where we review things, we reprocess things, and we receive the rewards for the work that we have put in. So Jupiter has been in your 10th house, and now on May 13th, I believe, it came into your 10th house. Jupiter changed signs on May 13th. From Aquarius, it came into the sign of Pisces. So for the past year, it's been transiting your 10th house, meaning it's been blessing your 10th house. You've received gifts connected to your career. You've received blessings connected to your career. If there was a wound connected to your career, Jupiter has healed it. And it may have taught you a lesson or two in the process, because Jupiter brings with it lessons as well. And now it's moved into your 11th house, Taurus. This is the 11th house. And the 11th house, Jupiter, will now bring you gifts, blessings, heal things, put a balm over wounds in matters connected to your 11th house, which are connected to your social circle. Not your close friends, but the groups you're part of, the acquaintances you keep, all that stuff, and even your hopes, goals, and dreams. And now Jupiter will go retrograde, meaning it'll start to move backwards. And it's going to retrograde from your 11th house into your 10th house. And this means that all the work that you have put in, the lessons that you've learned in connected to your career, and a little bit connected to your social circle, your hopes, goals, and dreams, you'll start to reap the rewards of those things. But the lessons will stop now. Now you look back and say, yeah, I should have done that, or I'm glad I did that. I learned my lesson. I'm glad. So that's happening on June 20th. Jupiter will go retrograde on June 20th. Okay. And another thing that is happening on June 20th, let me clean the chart up a little bit first. Okay. That's better. Another thing that's happening on June 20th is that the sun will change signs. From Gemini, it will come into the sign of Cancer. Now, this means it's leaving your second house and coming into your third house, Taurus. So for the past 30 days, you've been focused on self-worth, value, skills, and finances. And now you're going to be focused on communication. You're going to be focused on your immediate environment for the next 30 days. You're going to be focused on your siblings or your peer group or thinking or writing. All these matters will be illuminated in your life for the next 30 days. Okay? And that happens on June 20th. The next thing that happens is that Mercury, right here, will become direct. Now, Mercury has been retrograde in your second house, which means you have been reviewing things connected to your self-worth, value, skills, and finances. And now the forward movement of Mercury will begin again. Yes, it's going to cover a shadow period, but the forward movement will begin, which means matters connected to your self-worth, value, skills, and finances will start to see a forward movement again. The pace will pick up in those areas of your life. For the past 2.5, 3 weeks, it's been slow. It's been a review. Things have been coming up from the past for you to resolve. That happens on June 22nd. Now moving on, Taurus, moving on to, actually, let me change the chart to June 24th. Now this is an important day. And why is it an important day? Because we have a full moon in Capricorn. Now what is a full moon? A full moon is when the sun and the moon will oppose each other, make a 180-degree angle. You can see on the chart, you can give me a moment, please. Yeah. So you can see on the chart that the why does it do this? Okay. Yeah, that's why. I was trying to write with an eraser, that's why. Anyway, so the sun here is going to oppose the moon here. Moon, I know on this chart is at 27 degrees, but it's going to be here at 3 degrees in your ninth house. Now, this is a 180-degree angle. Okay, and full moons, what are full moons? Full moons are culmination points, they are endings, they are release points. Okay, this is the brightest night of the month, and you can see things clearly at this junction. And what are you completing, Taurus? What are you releasing? And what can you see very clearly? There are two things. First is what you started on June 10th. The seeds you sowed in your second house of self worth, finances, skills, and money and possessions. You're seeing that more clearly. You're saying, oh, yeah, back then I did this. Now it's making more sense. I can see things clearly now. That's one. It's also a point where you release emotional stuff, okay? The second thing that a full moon is that we had a new moon in Capricorn around Jan 13th, Jan 14th of 2021. Now you're completing that. Okay, now this ties into the Saturn Pluto conjunction. Now, why do I talk about this so much? The Saturn Pluto conjunction for you happened in your ninth house here, and that conjunction changed the structure of our reality, you can say, for everybody, different areas in our lives for each person, but it changed something for everybody. And for you, Taurus, it happened in your ninth house of higher education, foreign travel, religion, faith, belief, publishing. So matters connected to this area of your life transformed completely in Jan of 2020. And now with this full moon, that change that happened back in Jan of 2020, you'll be able to see it completely clearly. You'll be able to see how you've got to this point since Jan of 2020. So that's the second thing you're culminating. All right. And yeah, yeah. The next thing that I want to talk about is Neptune. Neptune has been transiting your 11th house. Now, Neptune is a planet that can cause a lot of confusion. It's been in your 11th house since 2011, so a long time. Neptune is a very slow moving planet, so it can spend over a decade in a house. For you, it's been in your 11th house for over a decade. And what does this mean? You can feel confused about your hopes, goals, and dreams. You can feel confused about who your social circle is. You can feel confused about these things. But Neptune will go retrograde, meaning it'll start moving backwards on June 25th. Now, this means that the confusion may ease off in these areas of your life, because when a planet goes retrograde, the intensity slows down. It's a relief period. And any work that you've done, and what is Neptunian work? It's cultivating universal love and compassion. And this has happened to you over the past decade or so, connected to your social circle, hopes, goals, and dreams. Now, if you put in the Neptunian work, you will reap the rewards. Okay? And this planet is very subconscious. In your material reality, it's not going to create many changes, but it works subconsciously. And the last thing that I want to mention for the month of June for you, Taurus, is that Venus. Venus is right here. It's going to change houses. It's been in your third house, like I told you, and now it's going to come into your fourth house. So after June 27th, you will be more receptive to your family, foundation, emotions. And it's not to say you're not already receptive to these things, it just says that the receptivity will be a notch higher, connected to your family, foundation, ancestors, real estate, and your deepest emotions. And you may also receive some sort of healing, some sort of blessing in this area of your life, where Venus will stay at least for the next 20 days. Okay, so that's a brief overview on the major astrological events that are happening for you, Taurus, in the month of June. And overall, I would say this month is a very important month. It's a very powerful month because we have a solar eclipse And we have the full moon in Capricorn, which will really bring to life the conjunction cycle that started and that changed our reality in Jan of 2020. And a lot of planets are going retrograde, meaning the forward direct movement of putting in the work will slow down, and now you'll start to reap the benefits, the rewards of the work that you've put in during that time frame. And this I want to mention, and it comes from personal experience, is that when Saturn is transiting a house, it can feel very difficult. But just know that Saturn's job is to put things in order, and it will leave that house. It will leave that house. So energies don't last for a long, long time. It will stay here for another 2 years, and then it'll go into your 11th house. So that's that. And now, Taurus, I'm going to pick a card for you for the month of June. These are not tarot cards. These are oracle cards, and a card has already fallen. So let's see what that is for you. It says, go the distance. Go the distance, and there's a cheetah running and just crossing the finish line. I hope you guys can see this. And it is telling you to keep going. It is telling you you are about to cross the finish line. It is telling you that you're almost there to fulfill your goals. Don't give up hope now. Keep going. The message for this month for you, Taurus, is keep going. You're about to reach your goals. You're about to cross the finishing line. Keep going. The ending, the completion point is near for you on whatever you're working on. So that's the message for the month of June for you, Taurus, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Do share it with your Taurus friend. Click the share button, and do subscribe if you like this video. I also do daily horoscopes, weekly horoscopes, monthly horoscopes, sun sign horoscopes, and special astrology talks and presentations. And everything is on YouTube, so you can go and watch that on my channel. Also, you can watch it on my website. It's called www.realmofastrology.com. And yeah, do hit the subscribe button, do hit the share button, do hit the like button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.